This one is the Christmas tree or the dwarf Alberta spruce. Very, very popular line ever since I started showing how to make it with the big ones. We have them in 3 different sizes, but this is the middle size, which is about nearly 8 and 8, 16, nearly 40 centimeter tall. And you can either just wire the branches like an informal upright straight and don't wire the trunk at all, but since most people like the proverbial S shape, informal upright shape, I'm going to supply enough wires to do the informal upright. So we'll have a thick piece of wire to do the trunk. So you always begin by removing the soil from around the trunk to reveal the trunk. Amazing how much trunk there is below. So we will remove some of the thinner branches, we don't need them. And we'll start by wiring the major branches. So there are 2 major ones here. Those 2 can be wired with 1 wire, but I'll begin by wiring the trunk to give it that a classical S shape. So with that in mind, I will use 3 millimeter wire, 3 millimeter wire to wrap around the trunk and to give it the S shape. So we'll stick the wire into the soil. This, by the way, is so popular that I have a group in Finland. I'm sure the viewers in Finland are watching this video. They are going to have a Zoom class with me for Christmas. It's their Christmas treat, Christmas deal. They're going to do this on Zoom, watching me do it, and they will do it. So the kids are going to go to Finland. This is so popular. So here we are. Again, be careful not to trap these little branches. So although I'm going to supply the thick wire to make it into an S, you don't have to make it an S. Just wiring the branches as an upright tree is still going to be very pleasing as a bonsai. So 1 piece of wire will give it that desired S shape. I'm going to just prop it up temporarily in one of these pots. And then I'll find there are 2 major branches, 3 in fact. I will wire the 3 together. So if you get a 3 situation, remember you can just wire the first 2 and then go to the next 2 afterwards. So there is one which is thicker than the others, so I will wire the thicker one twice. So I'm going to go to this thicker one up here. Of all the conifers, I love this one best because the fragrance from the branches is so nice. Really pleasing to smell. And then there's another one. Let's see. Don't use wire which is too thick, but with the kit I'm going to supply the correct gauge of wire anyway. No, I found another branch that I can wire, so I didn't have to wire it back onto the thicker one which already is done. This was done last week for television. So for those of you in the UK, this is going to be shown at a later date, I believe in January or February, on a BBC One program. So I will appear on national television. And then all these little branches with thinner wires, we will wire them up. I think for those branches, the thinnest wire we have is like 0.8, less than a millimeter. But that does the job. This is all aluminium bonsai wire. If the branches are too tiny or too thin, leave them alone. Let them grow bigger and then you wire it at a later date. Literally wire every single branch that you can find. If you didn't want the tree to be too tall, you can always take the growing tip out. So you can even have cut it lower than that should you want to. And then because there's so much congestion here, you can pick and choose the branches that you want to keep, discard the branches that you don't want, but wire as much as you can. Although I haven't finished wiring all, let me just put it in a bonsai pot. Now this we supply in a slightly bigger pot because this is the ideal size pot so that it doesn't stress the tree. It also gives it a chance to grow bigger. It's not the final pot. The final pot can always be much smaller, but for the first potting I always recommend using a pot that is slightly larger than it needs to be, because by doing that you give the tree a better chance of survival and it will grow stronger and bigger and thicker much more quickly than if you put it in a small pot. This is simple horticulture. Remember, bonsai is primarily about horticulture and then the artistic bit comes later. But understand your horticulture first. So you cut off the things that don't look right, or shorten it as you wish. A lot of these downward branches. Create space between the branches, you see the effect? I'm going to wire some more of these. There's so many more I can wire, but I will do them all. You see how nicely it's coming along? There's still some more branches to wire. The more you wire, the more detail you create in the tree, and the better the tree will look. This is where the hobby is so fascinating. You can make what you will out of it. A few more there. If you think there are too many branches, just take the odd one out. But don't go too crazy and take everything off. Just be selective in what you take off. And this is where your artistic skill and interpretation comes into play. Don't forget to trim the tips. Oh, I've virtually done it all. There you go, informal upright tree with the Christmas tree. So this is going to come in a kit form. I certainly recommend this because this is very satisfying. This is one of the most overlooked conifers, and hardly anyone ever thinks of using this for bonsai. I think I can claim that I have more or less pioneered the use of this Picea. So there you go, and we'll take a shot after I've tidied it up. And those are your kits.